I shouted to Gamal to stop, reined in my horse, and slipped to the ground. Gamal rode back to me, puzzled. He was even more puzzled when I told him. "You just made that up," he said. "Perhaps I did. I'm not sure. But I am quite certain that if we ride through the gorge, we will be in danger." Gamal chewed thoughtfully on a piece of grass. "In that case, how about climbing that path above the gorge? You remember the one, and looking down on the camp, just to see." I did not want to appear cowardly, so I swallowed my longing to turn and go home, and set off with him on foot along a path through the trees. There was something very reassuring about having an adventure with Gamal. He had such a sensible, cheerful air as he stalked along in front of me, once or twice stopping to listen carefully. As we approached the head of the gorge, we became very quiet indeed. I knew that Gamal must really have believed what I told him. Then we were in sight of the place where the gorge, that huge split in the surface of the earth, began. We stole lightly across to the rock that overlooked the gorge and stared down. All was just as I had seen it. I was about to gloat over this when I glanced to one side. 100 paces away, 2 robber scouts were staring intently at us and beginning to move in our direction. "Gamal," I hissed. "Run! Run!" Both of us turned back to the woods and ran, fleet of foot, driven by the sound of the robbers crashing through the undergrowth behind us. Our only hope was the 2 horses tethered where we had left them. In spite of our start, the robbers were not very far behind when we leapt onto our saddles and urged our horses away. Catching our panic, they took off at full speed, manes and tails flowing in the wind. I looked around once and saw one of the robbers about to fit an arrow into his bow. I did not look again. After that, Gamal was inclined to be respectful of my gifts, but to wonder why I had foreseen the robbers in the gorge, but did not know about the robber scouts. I could not tell him. "Can all women do magic?" he asked me. "I don't think so," I replied. "Marut can, you know," he said. "What kind?" "I'm not sure. She won't talk about it. It's just that I see her books and parchments. There's a terrifying picture in one of them. And sometimes she mixes potions." He sounded unhappy. "What sort of picture?" I was intrigued. "There was someone drinking something and falling asleep," Gamal spoke unwillingly. "Then they were in a coffin buried in the ground, but alive, awake, fighting to get out. It gave me nightmares for weeks." You think Marut would do a thing like that to her enemies?" I asked, frightened. "I don't know," Gamal said wretchedly. "I don't really understand magic," I said. "That's why I'm going to unis, I suppose." "Do you want to go?" "I don't know." Somehow that day made me feel like I needed to be taught whatever it was Uni knew. Perhaps, I thought, she could teach me really effective magic, and I would be able to use it to make people do anything I wanted them to do. That was a pleasing thought. In any case, I felt myself moving inevitably toward her, even though I didn't like her much. It was very odd. "So how is it," Gamal persisted, "that if you can see into the future, you cannot beat me at Finchnell? You should be able to see my moves several turns ahead." "I do beat you sometimes," I said indignantly, but I saw his point. There was something that didn't make sense. Now that I had discovered that Moon could speak, I spent a lot of time talking to him, but to my disappointment he did not utter another sound. He would gaze at me very intelligently with his head to one side, or sit blinking his amber eyes, but that was all. "Please say something, Moon," I would beg. "I know you can." But he simply ruffled his feathers and blinked at me with those astonishing eyes. One night I dreamed again of the hazel tree and the tunnel. This time whatever was pursuing me was close at hand. I woke up after the dream, and the feeling of fear was very great, though it was gradually succeeded by a longing for the hazel tree. I knew that something had to change, but I could not imagine what it might be.